First question is from Namle. How often should you see a chiropractor?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm going to make a general statement here.
Oh, boy.
I might piss people off. I feel like of all the health fields and positions, that chiropractors fall very neatly into two categories. They're either really smart, brilliant, understand correctional exercise, and do a great job, or they're quacks.
Shucksters.
Like, I have not met anybody in the middle. They're either
supplement peddlers
here or they're here.
Yeah.
So, okay. So
I feel like that's the same. It's the same. You're saying the same thing. Just some decide to wield their powers for good, and others decide to wield their powers for bad.
Totally.
Right? It's like you have the dark side, because it's what it is it's you have all that knowledge and information, so you have the ability to communicate things about the body that most people don't. Mm-hmm. And there can be tremendous value in chiropractor work. Mm-hmm. And there is also the ability to give somebody like instant relief, which that's very powerful. And so then what from there it is, do you have integrity, and do you give these people not only the instant relief that you can give them, but also the way to address the root cause
of how
they got here? Or are you in the business of just keeping appointments going for the rest of their life?
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
a lot of
clients of mine that I used to train, that was like, I remember I'd get clients and they'd be like, oh yeah, I'd be doing like their schedule, and they'd be like, oh, well, that's the day I see my chiropractor. And I'm like, oh, what do you see your chiropractor for? Oh, I always see my chiropractor. It's just like
a tune-up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it becomes something that they just do forever.
And what do they do for you? I'll go in and get adjusted.
Yeah, and they feel amazing. Yeah. Okay, so it's hard to especially when I'm the new trainer who they just hired, to be like, oh, well, maybe you're never going to need that again after I get a hold of you. Yeah. But you don't want to say that because they've built a relationship and a consistency with this person.
And
already.
I'll give a little bit of, I guess, like in terms of how they promote some of the business practices. I think that sometimes it kind of ends up a certain way, right? So if you have chiropractors that are doing well business-wise, they start structuring it in a way where they can see more appointments and more frequently, and so they start reducing the amount of time they're actually servicing these patients.
There's a name for that. I think, is it network chiropractic? Is that what it is, Doug? Doug, you were in the field a little bit. It was like a term for it where it was like a business model.
Was he in a field, or was he one of the guys who got suckered into it?
No, but back when I used to train Doug, and when we first became friends, he helped with some chiropractors in their marketing. Oh. So we kind of understood a little bit.
Not with marketing. I didn't help.
It wasn't marketing. It was internet.
No, I sold life insurance to chiropractors.
That's okay. My bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know there are some groups that are very much like, let's churn these people through our system, if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, where they'll set up like 5 people.
15 minutes.
And they'll go crack.
15-minute increments.
Yeah, I think good chiropractors use correctional exercise a lot.
Yeah.
Bad ones just adjust. Now, adjustments have their place, and the people that really explained this the best to me are two chiropractors I have a tremendous amount of respect for: Jordan Shallow and Dr. Justin Brink. Okay, Dr. Justin Brink, in fact, helped us create MAPS Prime Pro. So he was actually somebody that we worked with to put that together. And then Jordan Shallow is just this brilliant guy. And the way that they explain the adjustments is there are parts of the body where either through poor movement patterns or tight muscles or your CNS is protecting certain areas, you can't articulate a joint. And so what happens is the muscles around, they get tight, kind of seize up, and then the way you release them is like the way I would release my hamstring. My hamstring's real tight. I stretch it, right? So they're able to articulate a joint, cause that release. Oh, the CNS now lets go of that muscle, allows the muscle to relax, and I feel pain relief. But then what you have to do is follow up with correctional exercise to prevent what is causing that to happen in the first place. Otherwise, what'll end up happening is what you're saying, Adam. You got to keep going to the chiropractor every week for the same thing in my neck, the same thing in my back. My shoulder always hurts. They crack it and then it feels better. But then next week I got to go back.
You want it to unlock your movement potential. So if there's something restrictive and you, like, so sometimes like there's been accidents or there's been injuries or certain things where, you know, your joint just doesn't have that range of motion anymore, and you need that manipulation, that subluxation, I guess they call that, to kind of pop things in alignment, so that way now I can go through those ranges of motion. But you have to keep consistently practicing that to relearn that with, you know, your muscles to respond properly.
I find it really ironic that our MAPS Prime Pro and Prime Program are the programs that some chiropractors are most critical of when it was something that we created with Dr. Brink.
Yeah.
And I think they're critical of it because it takes from their business. If I give people the answers on how to fix something themselves, if they put the work in to address like what your point was, the root cause, they may never need a chiropractor again. And this is what I would tell clients when they would come in and say, oh, I see my chiropractor forever. And I said, well, we'll see after I get a chance to assess you and we start training, but there's a very good chance that I can eliminate you ever having to see them again, right? Like we can actually strengthen your imbalances and get to a place where you don't have chronic pain all the time and you don't need someone to pop you to get relief.
You know what? I'm going to counter that. And the reason why I'm going to counter that is because a lot of trainers will feel that way too. And I've heard people say this, what happens if you get someone in shape? You're losing clients. They're not going to come back. The better I got as a trainer, the longer people stayed with me. And the best chiropractors who understand correctional exercise,
I know.
They have the biggest.
It's a scarcity mindset.
Yes,
it's a scarcity mindset, and of course, it's not how Brink or Shallow think. It's just why we're good friends. I'll never forget when I first met Brink. Do you know the very first time we ever met? He showed up to one of our live events. I don't even know who he is, and he walked up and he introduced himself and he told me he was a chiropractor. And you know what I told him? I told him that I don't like chiropractors.
Yeah,
and he said, "Me too." It was the best response you could have given me because at this point in my career, I'd already been so many chiropractors would try and attach themselves because a personal trainer gets to train so many clients that it's like a great lead place for a lot of chiropractors. And so I'd have or in my early careers when I didn't know any better, I'd have a lot of chiropractors that would kind of hang around me and my trainers and our businesses because they would try and pluck clients out of it. And so of course I have this kind of chip on my shoulder about it already. So that's how I said that to Brink. But he had such the right response. Yeah, me either, because a lot of them are.
The first time I got a session with him, he didn't do a single adjustment. It was all assessment, correctional exercise.
And movement, yeah.
And movement.
Yeah.
That's, and those are the good people. They understand correctional exercise. They use adjustments as a way to help correct the root cause, and the good ones grow their practices as a result. They don't lose clients because they solve.
Well, the patients learn something. I mean, the bottom line, they're going in there, they're talking their way through whatever aches or pains, whatever. But the point is, like, they're leaving with something that they can apply at home, not just getting there to get some temporary relief.
Thank you. And I was going to say this because the question is, how often should you see a chiropractor? I'm going to give you some red flags instead. If you go in and all they do is adjustment and then you leave.
When they want to book out all your appointments.
Red flag. Yeah. That's a big red flag. If you go in and they do assessments, they look at correctional exercise, watch how your body moves, they take you through movements and exercises to correct the issue, they're probably...
Well, that's like going to a personal trainer to sweat and get sore.
Yes. It's very similar. The trainer that just moves you around.
Okay, you come back all
haphazardly,
sweating sore.
Exactly. Well, that was another thing that I loved about Brink. One, I never ever once got on the table with him. He didn't adjust. He never had to adjust me. He watched my movement, and then he gave me a prescription of things to do consistently. And then he didn't say, "Let's book another appointment" or "Let's schedule you twice a week for this long" or with that. He literally said to me, like, "Do these movements. Hit me up if you still are experiencing pain or if you still have discomfort or if you notice that, and then we'll go from there." But that, to me, that is the sign of like a really good chiropractor, is when they see you and they do a good assessment and they figure out what's going on. Sure, they adjust you to give you that immediate relief, but then they're prescribing to you things that you should be doing on your own. If they're not prescribing for you to do anything on your own whatsoever, they're in the business of just adjusting you and having you come back every single week. That's a red flag.
I've been to, quite a few where I'd show up and they, oh, your neck hurts, and they do crack, crack. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, see you Wednesday.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, and I guess I feel a little better. And then it would come, when I'd see, then I'd see someone who was really good, and they'd be like, well, let me see you walk, and let me see you stand, and then pull your head back and turn over here and do this movement, and then let's try this exercise, and then you do this one for 15 minutes. Does it feel any better? Yeah, it does. Okay, let's start with that for now, and I want you to do this twice a week, and then come see me next week, and then I'm gonna try a different move. Like, that's when you're working with someone that's good. So the question about how often should you see one? Well, if you find a good one that's
as little
good,
as possible. It's
whatever they tell you. That's their prescription. Whatever the prescription is right. If it's the, 10 minutes, here's your adjustment. Oh, good, you feel better. Then that's the person that you probably should never see. So it doesn't matter what they prescribe. Go the opposite direction and find a chiropractor that understands movement and correctional exercise.